Hey, hey, mamas. Welcome back to another awesome episode of the Mama Work It podcast. I am so glad you're here. If you're new and this is your first time listening to our show, my name is Marissa Lonick. I am the founder of Mama Work It, where we support women in the juggle of mom life, work life, wife life, fill in the blank life. And today we have an amazing guest and topic. I can't wait to introduce you. Her name is Kristina Reed. She is a boy and sports mom of 4 who is always on the go. She and her husband own a mattress store in Nashville, and she is also opening up a furniture store in Florida as we speak. Besides all this, Kristina is also a youth leader at her church. And even though it may sound like Kristina is busy AF, she still makes it her mission to prioritize family dinner time. Now she's helping other busy moms save money, save time, and make memories with their families all around the dinner table. Kristina is someone who has also made it a ritual of eating dinner together at the table every night. So I cannot wait to hear your tips because this is super important to me too. And I know for many of our listeners. So let's dive into those tricks, strategies when it comes to meal planning, especially in a chaotic home of 6, because I'm also a boy mom times 4. So I feel like we're going to have a lot of similarities and struggles in kind of how to make this happen. I can't wait to dive in. Thank you so much for being here, Kristina.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. All right. Well, first and foremost, I'd love to hear just a little bit about your journey as a mom and what kind of led you to really want to focus on this area in motherhood.
Yeah, absolutely. So, gosh, a lot has changed because I had to reschedule this. So when I wrote the bio, a lot has changed. We now have a furniture store. So so it's crazy. We have another person living with us. So my nephew moved down from Wisconsin. He's 18 years old. He graduated and moved in with us to help us begin the furniture store. So now I'm basically a boy mom times 5.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yes. But I found out a year and a half ago, really the story starts where we were spending so much time or so much money on groceries and throwing away probably more than half of it. At least more than half the produce, more than half of the meat seems to go bad just because I had the intention of cooking, but I had no plan. So really, a plan without actual steps is basically failure on how to achieve something. So that's when I started diving into how can we eat as a family, because we found out that we were never eating as a family. We're getting Chick-fil-A on the go way too often, or putting a pizza in the oven. And I read statistics on the importance of eating together as a family and how depression rates in children and adults just go down. So stress level goes down. It seems like even though you're more stressed, in the kitchen, but that's only because you don't have a plan. Once you have a plan, you're not actually stressed in the kitchen anymore. But if you eat family as a, the statistics just on anxiety and depression, they go down. Kids get better grades. Kids have better communication. Generally speaking, kids make better decisions later on in life when it comes to drugs and alcohol and avoiding them. And I can only say that it has a lot to do with the communication between parents and children. And then healthier eating habits too, so that we're not eating Chick-fil-A every other night. Love some Chick-fil-A, just don't love it on my waistline every other night. So but we were spending a lot of money and wasting a lot of money. And our bill was over $350 a week. And I brought it a year and a half ago from $350 a week to about $175 a week. Now it has gone up a little bit with inflation since then. And it has gone up, adding a 5th teenager who eats like he's 4 kids into the house. But it has been amazing how much we have saved, how much we have grown as a family, and the communication and grades have actually with my teenage boys have improved as well.
Wow. Okay. I definitely did not think it affected all these different areas that you're mentioning, but now that you talk about it in that way, it makes sense. It makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. It's like this family time that you aren't necessarily getting if you're not doing it. And that leads to communication, that leads to conversation, questions, a safe space, right? Cultivating a safe space potentially. So I love that this is all stemming from meal planning and sitting down
Yeah.
to eat together. Okay.
Yeah.
So I saw this meme recently. It was a picture of a shopping cart, and the caption said something like, "This is the most expensive vehicle of the year."
Yeah. Right.
So, and you've mentioned that you brought the grocery bill down. Even with inflation, it's still come
Mm-hmm.
down, right?
Yeah.
Tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
So, talk to us about ways that families can save money on groceries by simply meal planning.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, is actually taking a half hour of your week to sit down. And I actually put together a meal plan for people that don't have that half hour to sit down and come up with meals. But sit down, come up with meals. It doesn't have to be 7 meals, because if you do 5 meals, usually there's leftovers. And then there's a night of eating out, or so we have must go Mondays, where we eat the leftovers from the week, and that saves a lot of money. Right then and there, that'll cut down about 15 to 20% of your grocery bill. But then coming up with that plan, and then once you take the meals, put together the list of groceries before you go to the store. Once you have that grocery list, go to your pantry and see what you actually have in your pantry, because you don't really need 5 bottles of Worcestershire sauce. That will last you quite a while. So there's no point in rebuying stuff that you already have that may actually go bad too. And so shop at home first. Then 2 options. I have found that I save a lot of money if I order online. That way I'm not impulse buying while at the store. So I don't do it every week, but many times I will then take my list and just do grocery store pickup, which saves a lot of time as well. Then once you come home, take the produce that you have. This is key, and prep that right away. Even if you don't have time to prep everything, and prep for the week, prep the produce. So wash the produce, put it in containers. And here's a tip that will make your produce last a lot longer: is take a paper towel in those containers and put the paper towel, and that will keep stuff usually at least twice as long, for most of your produce, especially your berries and your salads.
Did
So
not know that. Okay.
yeah, yeah. And then one day a week, take an hour. If you can do it while you prep the produce right away, that is definitely ideal, because that way you're not taking 2 times to prep. But then prep the meat for the week. So if you have chicken 3 times a week, and you need to keep the chicken, why aren't you just keeping it 1 time a week and then putting it into bags? Same as onions. I hate cutting onions. So I will prep my onions like once a month. I will buy bulk of onions and dice them and then freeze most of them. And they actually can go from freezer right to sauteing. So little tips like that will save a lot of time in the kitchen on those busy nights. And then we'll save a lot of money too. So
Yeah,
because
because
no one
stuff's
wants to
not
prep,
going
yeah,
bad.
no one wants to dice chicken or dice onions throughout the week, but 1 time a week or 1 time a month for onions, it's doable.
I love those tips. Yeah. I do meal plan, but I don't think I do it at this level. Well, I can tell you actually I don't do it at this level.
Mhm.
I can factually say that, but it would save a lot of time to be doing some of these like tasks in batch form, right?
Yeah,
Once a week or once a month. Never thought you could freeze onions. Never
yeah.
crossed my mind. Where did you even figure that tip out?
So um, so the on Instagram, if you go to Very Veronica E, she is a genius when it comes to easy meals, and she has become a friend of mine. And she had a reel a couple of years ago about the onions. I'm like, I never knew that myself. So I started doing that, and it worked so well. So
Yeah.
that was not something I learned by myself. It was definitely stolen from Veronica.
We really underestimate the educational value of these reels sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
All right. So you've kind of walked us through your meal planning process. Can you just kind of outline it step by step and how long it takes you each week to do it? Because I know
Mhm.
you're saying it saves time, but in order to save time, you do have to do some kind of like some front loading here.
Right, right. So I find that many times I find myself, if I don't meal plan, I am spending time just staring in the pantry for 15 minutes at a time, trying to figure out what to eat. And so it's really taking that extra time that you just waste throughout the week and just build up all the anxiety and put something into your routine. And so what I'm going to share with you is a lot of steps. So this didn't come overnight. I took one or two steps at a time, tried to get those done, and then added another step. And so throughout the week, so the first step is coming up with those meals. So pick one day a week, whether if for everybody's going to be different, a different time. For me, it's actually Mondays because our furniture store is closed on Mondays. So I do most of the meal planning and prepping on Mondays, and so I make a list of what we want to eat, and actually, I have added since then. I have actually added my boys into cooking with me as well. That has been a step this past year that I have added, and I have found that they have expanded their taste buds by cooking with me as well. And so many times they will tell me one meal that they want to cook with me throughout the week. So I'll have each boy pick a meal, and then I will fill in the rest and put together the list, go shopping, pick it up, and meal prep right when I get home. That's kind of my, and that all takes, if I actually go shopping instead of doing the pickup, it takes about 3 to 4 hours of my morning to do that whole thing. But I'm doing it in one chunk. And then throughout the week, meals are, you know, I just put them together in many times in 5 or 10 minutes, plus the bake time, of course, or cook time.
So these are pretty quick, simple meals during the work week. Can you give
Yes.
us some ideas of what some of these meals are? Because I find that sometimes I get bored with like my
Right.
Rolodex of meals.
Yeah, absolutely. So so my family loves to try new stuff. Or at least I do, and I make my boys try new stuff. They don't always want to, but it can be as simple as casseroles. There's so many pasta casseroles. So what the meal plan that I put together that I have shared with others, it's not a healthy meal plan, but if you compare it to frozen pizza and Chick-fil-A every other night, it's a healthier way of eating. So it's a kid-friendly, healthier meal plan when compared to the alternative that most of the United States realistically is probably eating. So easy pasta dishes, a little bit of more Asian fusion foods as well, that are easy to put together. I have a couple breakfast meals. My family loves breakfast for dinner more than they actually like breakfast for breakfast, and burgers. That so just very simple things, simple sides as well. And then when I prep the produce, I prep it's a salad, and we have a lot of salads in our family on the side. And it's a lot of build your own salads, build your own burritos, build your own, and all the produce is already prepped for people to just throw it in.
Love that. Yeah. It's so important that when you're kind of shooting for meal planning, that you bring in that practical side of it,
Mhm.
right? Because I think sometimes we have these really high aspirations, and there's nothing wrong with that, of course. But if we go from never planning a meal to trying to plan like 5 gourmet meals in a work week, that's kind of setting ourselves up for failure right there,
Right.
because that's a really challenging, like big leap to do at once. And you
Mhm.
said yourself with your meal plan process, like you started one or two steps at a time. Like you didn't go from 0 to 100.
Right. So I started with just planning the meals and grocery shopping, taking that actual list. So to the grocery store, and from there, then I started shopping at home first. I started prepping the produce when I got home, and to actually taking more of a bulk time to prep everything. Um, and then as I found less, because I used to just kick my kids out of the kitchen and tell them to go fight someplace else, not in the kitchen. But my kids always wanted to cook with me because apparently they like me and they want to spend time with me. I think it has more to do with that. And I found that I was making the kitchen not a fun place for my kids, and I wanted to change that. And so slowly they would ask if they could help. And at first I'm like, no, I need this time for me. But I really didn't need it for me. Needed I needed to prep everything so that I could be a better mom while in the kitchen with my kids. And once I was able to do that, I was able to then invite my kids into the kitchen, usually just one at a time. And we kind of have the one-on-one time now while cooking a meal. And what's really cool about it is like I had a child that was a pretty picky eater. And then once he started picking meals with ingredients that he wouldn't eat previously, um, he would, since he was making it, he started eating it and trying to convince his brothers that it was the best thing ever. And their taste buds have definitely become a lot more diverse because of that.
I love that added bonus that you weren't expecting there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back to the list thing. I feel like this is such a simple step, but so many people don't do it, is going to the grocery store with a list. And
Uh-huh.
I up leveled my list a little bit. I don't know if you do this, you probably do and just aren't mentioning it, but like I make my list in the order I go through the grocery store to
Hmm.
save myself time too,
Yes.
because I don't want to be running around from point A to point B to point C to point D and back
Correct.
to point A. So like when you're thinking about your list too, like even just putting things in different places on the list, because you know like this is here or that's there, is going to save you
Uh-huh.
time too.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Definitely categorize them. And I I shop at two main places and sometimes I hit them on the same day. And so when I'm saying that I'm doing this all in bulk, sometimes it's all in bulk on different days of the week too. And that I'll split up the meals. Life is crazy. I mean, we can't do it all. And so I love Aldi and Sam's Club. I actually love Costco more than Sam's Club, but we don't have a Costco here. So I'll hit usually those two stores during the week for the most part,
Yeah.
and be able to prep from there.
Yeah. I feel like when you have 4 kids, you need some sort of bulk grocery
Yes,
membership.
yes. Five kids
Yeah.
now.
5 kids
Five
now.
kids that
Yes.
eat for 8. So
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the actual like sitting down at the table part of this, because those are some of like the really compelling statistics too that you shared with us earlier. Sometimes this in itself can feel a little stressful for parents. I know some nights are not like the conversations are better than others at our table. Sometimes it's more of a conversation of like, please sit down, please don't hit your brother, please eat, more than
yeah,
anything. So like what type of things are you doing? And remind us of the ages of your boys too. I'm curious. Like, but
yeah.
what types of things are you doing at the table to make this more of like a fun, engaging, interactive, like good
Mhm.
experience?
So my boys are 4, 7, 13, and 15. So it's a wide span, but we're out of the toddler stage.
Mhm.
So that does help. So if you have toddlers at home, I feel you. I get you. And there will be a time that it does become easier, because definitely the 4-year-old is the hardest, still at the table, the pickiest, the hardest to sometimes engage. But it has become so much easier this past year. And so the rule number one, no electronics at the table. And that is something that has become very important to us, because actual eating time might only be 10 or 15 minutes with our family because we're on the go. And so we want to take that time as a family and really make the most of it. So it's not long dinners that we have most of the time. It's 10, 15, 20 minutes typically. And then second thing is we have a question of the day. So question could be, what's the most underrated superhero? Simple question. It can get into a heated debate in our house.
Yeah.
And or what's the most overrated superhero? Or if you had $1 million and you could only spend it on 3 things, what would it be? And so we have lists of questions that, and we usually only do 1 question a day, but from that question, it expands to other things. And then we also do highs and lows of the day too. What was the best part? What was the worst part of the day? And that's typically takes up dinner. But I also, we also sometimes play games at dinner. And so we'll have something where, okay, guys, we're eating with chopsticks tonight. I know it's spaghetti, or I know that it's a quesadilla, but we're not using our hands. We're going to use, or a fork, we're going to use chopsticks. And so just fun little interactive games can make a world of difference and bring joy back to the dinner table.
I love those ideas. I love them. And who comes up with your question of the day? Did you just kind of download them from a website, or did you guys come up with them together?
So it started out with just, if you Google questions of the day, or you can come up with a lot of questions. My 7-year-old, he loves making up questions too. So if he doesn't have something, many times we'll turn to online and I'll look through some sort of random list. But usually my 7-year-old actually comes up with the question. And It's just really, really random.
I love that. Yeah. And it's always like kind of like the eating, right? How it's really opened up to the picky eaters if they're involved in the prep of it. Sort of like these conversations too, right? Like if any of the kids are involved in the question making, or the game picking or anything like that, much more likely to get the buy-in, the involvement, the engagement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's really impressive. 2 teenagers, well now 3 teenagers, and like everyone's involved in this. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and they enjoy it. My teenagers enjoy cooking with me too. And now they're at an age where they will start, many times I'll tell them that they have to start cooking without me, because now they've learned the basics. So if I start getting busy, my son, he was making hamburgers the other night, and like he made them from scratch, like took the meats and all the ingredients, and not just hamburger patties that you get at the grocery store. Like he actually puts all the ingredients in himself, because he's finding that he is actually really enjoying a culinary
I love that
aspect. So
yeah, I mean, ultimately we're raising adults, right? Like we're raising people that need to be independent and self-sufficient one day. So these are all such critical and great skills that they're learning.
Yeah. So I figure if his future wife doesn't like me, it's not because I didn't teach him how to cook or do laundry.
Right. Check. Job done. All right, Kristina, we're going to head over to our lightning round now. This is when I like to ask guests just some random fun questions to get to know you a little bit better on the personal side. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Okay. Let's see. If they made a movie about your life, who would you want to play you?
Sandra Bullock. I don't know why.
Yeah.
She's just a good actress. So that's who
Yeah.
popped into my head first for whatever reason.
Go
So
with the gut. I love it.
yeah,
Okay. What if you could go on vacation tomorrow anywhere in the world? Where would it be and why?
Bali. I've just always wanted to go there, and I could really use a nice tropical vacation. Even though I live in Florida by a beautiful beach, it is cold in the Panhandle of Florida right now. So I
Yeah.
would like Bali.
Okay. Yeah. What's your guilty pleasure TV show?
I feel like with all the boys in the house, I never get to do it. But I'm going to go with the Bachelor, but more the Bachelor old seasons, like 10 years ago. I think ever since Chris left, I haven't really watched it or liked it. But also Hallmark Christmas movies. That's my real guilty pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Finally, what is something most people don't know about you?
Um, I've lived, I've never lived in any house ever since my adult life, in any house or apartment for more than 23 months.
Wow.
Yeah. I've moved around quite a bit.
Man, we should have had you on the moving episode.
Yeah, I could tell a story about that one. I don't I yeah. So I during it was probably move number 5. I moved at Christmas time once, right after Christmas, when my 2 oldest were really little. And and we put we had a big box on Christmas Day and put the wrapping paper, the used wrapping paper in the box. Somehow that box got taped up and got moved from Wisconsin to Nashville. And in Nashville, we moved 4 times. And it was like the third or fourth move when that box kept on going from storage to storage to storage in each move. I finally opened it up, and it was from like 5 or 6 years prior.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I might have some good meal prepping tips. I don't have good tips for moving.
Can't do it all, Kristina.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. Before we wrap up, can you tell our listeners where they can find you, learn more about you, and get more of your meal prepping tips and tricks?
Yeah. So I have, if you go to Boy Mama, BOYMAMA times TIMES for the number 4 .com, you can get a simplified meal plan, a 4-week meal plan, which includes dinners for 4 weeks. It includes easy dish recipes, easy dessert recipes, shopping list per week. So it's divided into weeks. So you can just get what you want, and it's actually linked to Instacart as well. So you could even just press it with the click of the button and have groceries delivered to you if time is of essence. And these are super simple recipes. And there's also games and conversation topics on that, and you can go in and go to my website to get that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We will see you soon.
Sounds good.